Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Dirt Report. We are here on a wonderful Tuesday evening to bring you the recap of the week, some power rankings, some drama, the usual nonsense. Once again, my name is Jonah, and I am joined by some beautiful faces around me. As usual, we've got Taco, we've got Laggers, and below me, we've got Klimpse and JM. And a special guest this week is Staz, hailing from Kent State. So, Staz, looking forward to getting into stuff a little bit later. How you feeling?
Pretty good. Super excited to just talk about what we've been doing so far.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to getting into it. Before we do that, as always, we are going to recap where we're sitting at in every respective collegiate league right now. Over here in CR6, we are, well underway in stage 2 of the group stage here in the, especially in the Premier Division. A lot of teams going at it and a lot of upsets this week that we will get to in just a moment. Over in CEA, the playoffs are still underway, still churning out one match every week. Invite, we just had the winners bracket final where NC State was able to defeat Akron in a mighty 2-0 fashion. And then, of course, they still have the losers bracket to play out. And as well, over in the open division, they also have some matches to get underway there as well. But more of note, FACEIT, the Rainbow Six Collegiate Championship preseason, the playoffs are finally here. They'll be starting this week. Laggers, why don't you tell us a little bit more about the playoff structure? Like we missed you there for a second there, Laggers. Unmute yourself and then say that again.
Take two.
I get a little second taken there. While he does that though, um, we will talk more about the FACEIT playoffs because we have something interesting coming your way. If you didn't see the announcement over in FACEIT, right, there is an epic bracket challenge happening, right? So we have, if you go over to the FACEIT Discord and you look down the R6 announcements, everyone should have gotten pinged. There's a bracket challenge, which not only has credits up for grabs provided by the wonderful people over at FACEIT, but also the top place in that bracket, we are awarding you here at the Dirt Report with your very own guest spot. You could be sitting where any one of us is sitting. Not me, of course. I'll still be here. But everyone else, you could take their spot for one night on the Dirt Report. We're going to have you here. We get into the banter, we get into the drama, and you can earn your spot and prove, that you are clearly a brighter mind than all of us in terms of collegiate rankings and collegiate guesses, because that is exactly what your task is. You can do it for both the championship bracket or the rec bracket. Both of those have prizes up for grabs over in FACEIT, but we are only looking at the number one spot in the championship
Now,
bracket.
Jonah,
So that's Taco, go for it.
do they get to choose who they replace? I feel like that would be a good
No,
thing to
no.
add.
So we just have one guest spot, where Staz
Oh
is sitting
man,
tonight. Yeah.
yeah, okay.
But maybe if we
I
had a
think
little
we
bit of talk
should.
with them.
I think that would be
Yeah.
funny. It's
I
like
think that'd be
I get to be
fun.
on the show, and Klimpse has to sit there and watch it, or I just chose an
Damn.
example.
Yeah.
Of course you want to choose me, Taco.
Look, you're right below me. I had just the first person I
know,
saw.
I feel so sad. It's so far up.
That's a good point though. We will definitely we'll definitely get spicy with that one. So just win that, easy enough. And then we got you. We'll put you on here and hopefully we'll have a good bit of fun. But that's the intro out of the way. That's the recap of where we're sitting in all of our leagues right now. Let's talk about the matches this last week and let's just dive straight on into our rankings. We don't have to waste any more time here. Let's pop up the top 25 and let's get into it. As you can see, a ton of movement. Almost every single team is moving, whereas last week we had half the teams with no movement at all. Taco, this was a crazy week. Tell me why.
Let me tell you something, Jonah. As we kind of got into this second stage of CR6, the teams that, maybe didn't get a chance to play one another in the first stage are now starting to rub elbows a little bit, right? Start mixing things up. And so that's given us a lot more interesting data to work with on our end as we start doing these rankings. And that's why you see, tremendous spikes like this, not to mention that we're starting to get, later into CEA playoffs and teams are starting to prove the medal. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But I think that's something that's been really, interesting on our end as we start to dive into these rankings a little bit more.
Well, why don't we do it? Why don't we talk about CEA playoffs and talk about one of these very teams, like you said, Taco, who are proving their medal, right? One of those sitting at the 25 spot, making their first time appearance is San Jose State. Laggers, tell me about this team if you are alive and unmuted, and exactly why they made their spot here.
Well, I think my mic's working now. So San Jose State
sir.
finished top 8 in CEA Open. We've got a matchup against them, Purdue versus San Jose, tomorrow night. Yeah, tomorrow's Wednesday. So recently in the past few weeks, we've been looking for a new team to put on in the Dirt Report in that number 25 spot. And this week it's going to be San Jose State. Only one loss so far this season, although they're only playing over in CEA. But San Jose State has looked pretty strong. They beat Arizona State over with Baca, who has been not the strongest team, but a team that a lot of us know about. And so we're rewarding them with a spot at the bottom of the rankings this week.
24, one spot above them, another team who is, new this week, but we have seen them before. As go for, a lot of these teams, sitting at that bottom spot. They were on, they were off, and now they are back on. So jumping straight to 24, you've got Alabama, and at 23, you have Brown. JM, why don't you talk to me about these two teams?
Alabama, we decided to put back on. They had a win over Miami University last week, and then they play a big game for CEA playoffs against Cincinnati this week. And then Brown, we had ranked pretty hot, going up in the rankings last week, but they did lose to NCSU's B team. So unfortunately, they have to drop a little bit, and then it gave us reasoning to put NCSU B back onto the ranking.
Yeah, Taco, we've been sleeping on your boys a little bit. I know they were on the rankings, several weeks back. We took them off because we're like, oh, they're in rec league, blah, yada, yada. They don't deserve it anymore. But they've been tearing it up over in CEA playoffs, and they show no signs of stopping, my friend.
Yeah, let me tell you something, Jonah. It's been I wanted to, take a step back and, thought maybe I was being a little bit biased when I thought that maybe the B team was being snubbed a little bit over here in North Carolina. But I think this week they finally have proven that their undefeated record is something that is not just luck. They showed that they are a team that is not easily taken down. Brown is a team that has been toppling some pretty impressive opponents, and they weren't even able to take a map off of our B team. Those guys are, really impressive. I'm a real big fan of how they are doing stuff over there. We had one of the B team players, their internet went out, and so we had him here in our apartment playing the second map for us. So, really, really proud of those guys. But hey, I honestly, I still think that where they're ranked right now is still a little low. But we'll have to see in these coming weeks if they do bump up even farther.
Yeah, after all, they did beat, Penn State several weeks back. Still enough, close enough that it's in recent memory, and I'm sure in the minds of both NCSUB and Penn State, the team who actually finds themselves up at the number 12 spot this week. They didn't even start in the top 25. Just goes to show you that once you make an appearance, you can climb in no time as long as you're beating the right people and doing it quickly. That's exactly what Penn State have done. But before we work all the way up there, a couple more teams to go through. Really, this chunk of teams here from 21 to 19, Cincinnati, CGC, UIC, and UBC. Not a lot happening this week between these three teams, Klimpse. They do have some matches coming up, though.
Yeah, between UIC, these kind of like trio of teams, it's kind of been interesting. Really, I haven't seen a lot out of them. UBC seemed like they got really hot, and they kind of ended up dropping down a little bit, especially after losing to Oklahoma. They did get a win against Utah in CR6 Open,
Which is a team that Klimpse, maybe you tell us a little bit more about Utah.
That we may have played against, and yeah, we definitely dropped a little bit of a map on.
A little bit of a map. Dropped
Yeah,
a little.
bit.
Okay, yes, GCU lost the map to Utah.
And we did, yes, we did lose. Definitely did lose a map to Utah.
Okay.
Oh, that makes sense.
Still
GC doesn't
pulled
have
out
to
the
scrim,
win.
so that's
exactly.
why
Let's
they
practice.
lost the
Actually,
map.
we're starting to practice now, so hey, who knows?
We'll see.
Hey,
Taco, what have you done?
Worst could
Future-
be
Making all these teams practice.
Future's bright in the Grand Canyon.
Taco, you just gotta watch. Yeah, dude, it's really far down there, but like,
I just having to practice.
But yeah, so they're an interesting team that I would still keep an eye out on to like have spurts of being really good and then kind of falling down a little bit. I feel like UBC is gonna be a team we're gonna consistently see it like make deep playoff runs, but I don't think we're gonna see them go like crazy in a season of where they actually make it into CR6 Premier. I think they'll always stay at that top open team, but never like push through the relegation.
Well, same thing goes for CGC UIC. I mean, they beat UNT, which, as we've seen in the recent weeks, doesn't take a lot, not to knock Jagged, but they just have not been living up to those expectations that we had for UNT earlier on in the season. But as we continue to move up, we reach that 19, the 18, and the 17, the 16 spot, and more teams that haven't seen a ton of movement, but teams that I know, Staz, you are starting to get a little bit more familiar with. I mean, you guys, finally, in the place you deserve in Premier, you guys are taking down teams uh, higher than your weight class pretty regularly. And I know we're skipping a couple of teams here, and we'll get back to them. But Staz, I want to talk to you about your wins this week and how you guys made that happen.
Yeah. St. Clair was a pretty interesting game because, like, obviously we heard that, things were happening over there. So we kind of went in just with the expectation of, like, do the best that we can and try to make a statement. I definitely think we did that. It was a solid 7-0. Snooki had a great game. And then Ohio State, we didn't really have much info on them. We watched a VOD, and that was really all that we had. So we just kind of went into that game trying to be as prepared as possible, and we ended up taking them to Coastline. And it was just a constant back and forth, and we ended up pulling it out thanks to an 8-7 win.
Well, Staz, I know we've had a chance to talk to some of your teammates in the past, Mr. Meaty specifically, Mr.
Unfortunately.
Aggressive Smoke, man. But why don't you tell me a little bit about your role on the team, the structure? I mean, I would love to know a little bit more about Kent State and what makes you guys you.
Yeah, no. So Snooki, Corey, and Jaxer, Sean, those are going to be our two entries. Those guys are just, they're frag machines. Corey, once he gets into a rhythm, it's hard to stop him. Against Ohio State, I think he went 18-6 or 18-9. He popped off and had a really good game. Sean is one of those guys that really has to find a rhythm. NCSU had a really good job at kind of shutting him down, but lately, the past couple of weeks, he's been getting a lot better on his roam and just kind of pop off the best he can. Me personally, I play soft support, so I usually try to hard stick those Maverick rolls and help get wall and watch flank and all that stuff. Geo is our hard support, whether Taco agrees with that or not. He is a little aggressive, but I think he does his job fairly well. And then Ethan is our flex, and he plays whatever we need. And then we also have a fantastic coach who makes all of our strats. His name is Isaac. And Geo didn't shout him out last time, so I'm doing that here.
Awesome. Well, good to hear about you guys. I know we're going to be seeing a lot more of you in the coming weeks because, again, a big win over Ohio State, team that was, up there in the top 6, top 8 range for quite some time. So definitely something worth noting. But as we jump back, I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place here, but I just wanted to talk to my man Staz for a little bit. Let's jump back down, to that 16, 15, 16, 17 spot on the rankings, and once again take a look at these teams here who have seen, in some cases, a good bit of movement. Obviously, Louisiana dropping down 2 spots. A loss to Oklahoma State is really the reason for that. But you move up towards the Wisconsin and Oklahoma State, teams that, again, have been all over the place in the last few weeks, but have made some pretty big leaps, especially in the case of OKST Liger.
Yeah, so OKST, the big thing was last season they had a super strong roster, finishing top 8 in FACEIT, taking a lot of maps off a lot of good teams, winning a ton of maps. This season, 2 of their members were gone, Hyena and Slash, both taking a little bit of an absence from their roster. Now they are back, and they should be tearing up stage 2 if we see anything like the roster from last season. Big win over ULL this week, and that's going to really bump them up in the rankings for now. They've been in the mid-20s spots, but now definitely deserving a late teen spot. They have a lot of potential, and they could really rise back up with 2 new players joining the mix.
Yeah, it is at times concerning, how poorly Oklahoma State played without, just 1 player extra or, 2. But it is impressive how, you throw in 2 players, you throw in them back into this roster, the cohesion and um, that group that they built up over the last few semesters is back. And I think it's going to be really taking some names and surprising a lot of people because that is exactly what they were up to, not too long ago. I mean, making an impressive run in the collegiate championship, featured on the main channel going against NC State. I think Taco, that was a pretty exciting matchup. Yeah, so they were up at the top and they may be looking to climb their way up later. But as we climb our way up this list, we finally bridge into that top 15 and take a look at this middle of the pack, which comparatively to the rest of the field hasn't seen a ton of movement, but teams like Oklahoma, Kettering, and Penn State, well, they had some interesting outcomes this week. Obviously, Kettering, a win over St. Clair, as we've talked about, is not that impressive because St. Clair is lost. But you've got Oklahoma and Penn State on the other hand. JM, they definitely did have some interesting events here.
Um, Oklahoma, yeah, they had a big win over Texas Tech. And unfortunately, they did lose to Penn State. Not sure what the score is, but they are showing that they're an upcoming team with the new rosters and everything like that.
Especially if Slash is coming back.
Yeah, Bash and Hyena.
That's the other
you know,
Oklahoma.
That's the dude.
Oh,
wrong.
We're talking about
I'm
university here.
Dude, Klimpse, I mean,
Klimpse just threw me off. I'm like,
There's a hard line.
I'm
Like
sorry,
if
right
someone is
here.
going to win that bracket challenge, we know whose spot you're taking. There is no question about
Hey,
it.
Klimpse.
It's the forehead doing the talking, not me. Okay, don't judge it.
Yeah. Well, yes, as we were saying, Penn State, of course, they didn't have a ton. They obviously beat Oklahoma, a team that just beat Texas Tech. That was an outcome that surprised a lot of people. And this just in, Tulsa, a team that is at the number 8 spot this week, dominated Oklahoma, which continues to shake things up in our expectations and continues to really show that Tulsa. I know I'm skipping a couple teams here, but we'll go straight to them. This Tulsa team has been, improving a ton every single week. Sitting at the number 8 spot right now, one move up, but it could look like, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they can take down teams like MTU. Obviously, GCU, that can happen really easily, but you work your way up to a team like UAH, that's where things get a bit tougher. Taco, I'll throw this one to you. Obviously, we'll come back to Texas Tech. We'll come back to Ohio State. But for Tulsa, a team that has been on the rise in the recent weeks, and a team that we have talked a good bit about as that sleeper pick always. Do you think they're still a sleeper pick, or are they now a team that is well established in the top 10 consistent?
Jonah, that's actually a really good point, and I've been really impressed with how Tulsa's been advancing. I think going forward for them, it's just something that we've seen where when you have a player, and again, we don't want to undersell the rest of the team, but when you have a player like Spaz who is very used to doing things on his own, you get to a point where you start to actually incorporate him more into the ebb and flow of an offense or a defense. That's when things really start to click, and that seems like exactly what has happened in Tulsa. It just seems like, from what I've seen in streams and from what I've heard, talking, because I talked to the Tulsa guys a couple of times pretty recently, and what I from understand from them is that they're really getting to a point now where they are starting to really gel, and I think that their spot on the rankings here as a great reflection of that, and they are a team that I think has a potential to continue to improve because they have a lot of players who went into stage 1 with not a lot of experience and they were still winning games. But now as they're getting more reps in, they're starting to get a little bit more experience. They're a team that really, they don't really have a ceiling, in my opinion. And they're a team that can continue to improve. Maybe not, cracking that top 4, because that's something that is going to be incredibly tough and requires a very strong roster. But and I think anything up until that point is fair game for them.
All right. Well, Laggers, I'll throw this one to you because let's talk a little bit about the teams that we are now going to loop back to that I skipped over a moment ago, Texas Tech and Ohio State. Because if you look at all the outcomes of everyone in the top 25, these two teams had probably two of the most surprising losses out of the entire week.
Yeah, I think it's really fair to say that Texas Tech and Ohio State maybe had the worst weeks out of anyone in the top 25. They're still ranked really high. They've got a good history this season. I don't think it's fair to drop them much more, but Texas Tech lost to Oklahoma this week. They had a win over NCSU, but it was a forfeit. Something about internet troubles over at the Taco
can't read
House.
from books, so.
Taco doesn't know the rules or something. So
That's unfortunate.
Rehost.
Texas Tech was able to
We
scrape
get
out a win
2?
over. Yes, you get 2.
Did you
In a best of 1, we get 2 rehosts?
Wait,
We've
you
been
still
over
don't
this,
know?
Taco.
My goodness.
Well,
Texas
so
Tech.
bad.
Texas Tech able to
That's a-
scrape out a win
that's
against
a
a top
dumb
4
rule.
team
That's a
there.
dumb
So
rule.
Yeah.
so that's what happened with Texas Tech this week. In Ohio State, extremely surprising loss to Kent State. Not sure if too many people had that one projected for this week. It was an 8-7 barn burner on Coastline. I mean, in a best of one, an 8-7, maybe not the end of the world when you're looking long term, but still a pretty surprising loss and a pretty expected loss to GCU. I mean, it knocks them down definitely because we've sort of been having Ohio State around in that same tier of just outside the top 4 teams, sort of in that same tier with GCU all season. But when you lose a match to a team in that tier, you're going to be dropping some. So
2 subs.
Well, I mean, Laggers, you're gonna say that here right in front of Staz. You're gonna say aloud that it's an incredibly surprising loss to Kent State. Staz, obviously, we talked about this game already, but is that a little offensive to hear? Do you guys think that's something you could have easily done or were expected to do?
I don't think it's offensive in anything. You know, we're new. We just got into Premier. You know, a lot of teams don't really know what we can do. They've really only seen our VOD against NCSU, which wasn't, I think, our best performance by any means. So I definitely think that Taco said it last week. He thinks we're going to be on the downtrend. I disagree with that. I definitely think we're going to be on the uptrend. I think that there's a lot of teams in our group that I don't see much as a challenge, and then there's others that I see as a very big challenge. I think the biggest competition in our group is Akron and Purdue. GCU is Freelo this Friday, so I'm just
Good
really
point.
excited.
Okay.
See that on the mainstream.
Klimpse, I mean, talk to me. What do you think? I mean, you're going up against a team. Obviously, you guys in Kent State have had, some relationship, over the past few months. You advocated bring Staz on here, and I want to hear you guys hash this one out. You've got an important game coming up.
Yeah.
This GCU Kent State game, it will be a fantastic way for Kent State to prove themselves. Even if they don't win, I mean, they have nothing to lose, whereas you guys have everything to lose. What are the expectations you have going into this match?
Exactly. Yeah. I think it'll be a good game between us and Kent State. I've always advocated for them, saying that they're a really good team and they're better than everyone thinks. I
Yeah,
knew
they
that
feel
they'd
like a
be
jerk.
right above that. Huh?
I bet Staz feels like a real jerk right now, Klimpse. You're being a real
Oh
nice
no,
guy.
I don't.
I
I
know,
love clips.
I
I
know.
love clips.
You
I
know,
love
You're a
clips.
real
nice.
piece of work.
No,
Oh,
it's
man.
Beat him
it's
down,
all
man.
hey, it's all friendly banter, man. Right? So
Yeah, of course.
nah, I'm cool with all the guys we met randomly talk here and there. I remember meeting them last year with the FACEIT 10 mans and stuff. But yeah, I think this will be kind of figure out where they stand in our group right now. I think we're considered very much as the third best team in that group, and pretty much right behind Akron, right behind Purdue in those regards. But then, I see some faces right there. So
I don't know, right behind there,
Ooh.
Chief. But
I mean, hey,
Woo.
it was
Ooh.
7-5 with 2 subs against Akron, so
okay.
I'd say we had a good game versus Purdue, even with
Against
the sub
UTSC,
at that time.
though.
So no, definitely not against UTSA. That was a tough one.
Well, now
But-
that you mention it, I will throw another little added element to the mix here. Rumor has it you've picked up a coach for this GCU roster. Rumor has it this coach may be the sexiest man the community has
He
ever
is
seen.
Adorable.
Can you confirm or deny the rumors of said coach? Give us the identity of this coach and exactly what he brings to the table.
I can confirm he's actually in the chat if he wants to identify himself via the chat. His name's in red. Yeah, works very closely with CR6 and with
Flash.
many other leagues, casting wise. But it's Chief. Chief has been awesome. He's been nothing but extremely helpful. Yeah, he's not here, I guess. But he's been really helpful. I mean, there have been games that we probably would have lost if he wasn't there, and he's only been here for like 1 or 2 weeks. He's starting to get us to practice more, which is really good for us. He's got really deep connections into T2, T3, stuff like that, which is stuff that we've kind of lacked. And so as we see the collegiate meta starting to go towards those stratier teams, more strat heavy, more kind of the normal NA meta that we see in like PL and CL, where we see a lot of burns, stuff like that. Hopefully having those teams to work with and be able to work with, that way we can compete better against NCSU, Purdue, Converse, those teams that run those heavier strat metas.
Well, I'm eager to see that game. If that game is being streamed, I suspect it is Chief casting that game. So can't wait to see how he picks apart his own team. It'll be what's the type of
Chief
killing
is
for
casting
your
it.
own child?
Oh, he'll rip us to shreds.
Patricide? No, that's
absolutely.
killing your dad.
No, that's
That's killing your dad.
Infanticide.
Yes,
infanticide.
that seems more. That seems more right. Right, it's going to be brutal because obviously Chief is going to have a lot of nasty things to say.
Chief
because
is just gonna rip apart my forehead.
watching
and call it a
GCU
day.
play it doesn't usually sit right. I mean, it leaves you feeling a little bit nauseous, and so well, hopefully he can get through that safely. But I'll back to keeping it serious. I really do think that'll be a great game, and of course, Chief is an extremely smart guy, extremely smart coach. And I think he's going to bring a lot to your team, especially a team that struggles a lot with, you could say, infighting, to put it mildly.
Yeah, right.
Maybe he can bring some cohesiveness to the team that
100%.
maybe you need. Yeah, maybe.
I just can't wait for it to go 6 for 6 on plants on Friday against Kent State and call it a day. So,
All right. Have you changed? So your plant button, by that do you mean your vault button? Or are you
Yes.
talking about that? Or
no.
No?
Well, I could jump around a little bit if I'd like. But,
He remapped his keys again.
Oh my!
I haven't vaulted anything, man. We've been stuck on this for like 5 weeks ever since CDAP's giving me a hard time, man.
I mean, dude, we all
And this
watched it. It
fool
was
up here.
atrocious.
Oh, it was
great.
bad. Oh, it was a
Yeah,
mess. But
yeah.
we changed. Hey, people change.
All right.
You don't.
Change for the
Well,
better.
I believe in
Alright.
you, Klimpse.
No, you don't. You know what? I
No.
appreciate the belief. I'm just saying I'm planning 6 times against you guys.
Well,
If-
that's
if we
gonna be
have to
easy
go
because
to
Smoke's
OT,
gonna
I'll
be
throw
dead.
him.
It'll be easy. Smoke's dead, so you can plan all you want.
That might be the case. Hey, there's 2 aggressive smokes, 1 on each side. So
Geo
I
wins.
have to
those.
get Meaty back on here to have him, not get absolutely murdered on stream.
for Gio.
All right, let's talk MTU. One of these teams that has been, nearing that top 4, as close as they've gotten, has been that 5 spot, but now they are back, at that 7 spot after a drop over the last couple of weeks, namely because the UAH made a 5 spot leap, moving back to a position that feels a little bit more typical of a team of this caliber. Laggers, I'll throw this one back to you. UAH, their victory over MTU. How'd they make that one happen? Or at least, how do you think they made that one happen? And what do we think about these 2 teams in particular going forward?
I think UAH has definitely shown that they are a clubhouse team. That 7-2 over MTU is pretty impressive. And then the 8-7, I mean, MTU can shoot, so that was a pretty impressive win on Oregon there as well. But the real reason that they jumped so high in the rankings this week was their win over Converse. The first official loss that Converse has this season, minus a missing map from a league that's not affiliated that technically didn't happen, I guess, that Converse has this season, really leaping them up. When we look at sort of the teams that we have here, we can sort of break them down into different tiers. And right now we've got the top 4 teams sort of in their own tier. Alabama is near the top in wins over those teams, with a win over Akron and Converse this season. The only other teams with more than 2 wins over teams in that sort of top tier this season so far are Converse, with 2 wins over Akron and 1 over Purdue, and then I think it's NCSU with 1 over Akron and 1 over Purdue. So, I mean, Alabama Huntsville is keeping up with the big dogs here and getting wins over those 2 teams, and it wouldn't surprise me to see them join these top 4 in the top tier if they get a little bit more consistency in their play.
Incredible. Taking down Converse, of course, the champions of CR6 Stage 1. Impressive stuff. UAH making a bet, making a run for maybe that top spot. They just have to work their way through 3 more of those top 4 teams to get there. But speaking of the top 4, we saw a slight change this week due to Taco taking down Akron, IMAT, and the boys over there in CEA in the upper bracket final. We've seen this match happen a lot in CEA, given the competition over there is a little bit different. Converse and Purdue not in CEA invite. Taco, tell me about that victory and how that victory propelled you up that 1 spot over Akron.
Yeah. I'll say this. Big shout out to Anarchy, as always. 14 on map 1, I believe 12 on map 2. I think actually map 2 was probably a pretty good, if I remember correctly. Yeah, map 2, we had our lowest kills was 8 and everyone else had double digits, so it was a really good team performance from us. So that was something we were really happy about. If you want to beat a team like Akron, everyone pretty much has to be firing on all cylinders. And let me tell you something. They are a scary team when they have a gun over 60 bullets in their hand, especially in the form of IMAT and JetCon. When they get an LMG, it's something else. It is some very scary stuff. And they have some other players in the forms of Hennessy, Mitch, and Jobu that are not to be slept on either. And so that was actually we were pretty happy with that win. But again, it is CEA, which is a double elimination bracket. So we still have a lot of work to do. That is if Akron, wins their lower bracket final game, which is, I believe, against the winner of GCU and UAH now. Yeah. So, real coin toss in that one. But then after that, they have to face off against Akron, which is a pretty tough task. And then we'll see what happens. But yeah, again, they're a tough team to beat twice, but I think we probably can handle it.
Well, in the past, you've talked on broadcast about the NCSU best of 5 first. And I do believe that grand final is a best of 5.
Right.
So you'll be heading into that best of 5 with a map advantage now. Say you face Akron again, a situation that has happened identical to this in the past. Do you think you'll be able to hold on to that map advantage and win this time rather than letting them come back and take that 3-1?
Jonah, let me just say right now, we were super pumped because we've actually doubled our map count in best fives. I believe we played in now 4 best of 5s, 5 counting the one that we are going to go, or maybe it's now 4, the one we're going to play against the winner of the lower bracket finals in CEA. And I believe we have gotten now 2 maps in all of those series, and both of them have been as a result of winning the upper bracket. And so it's the map that's given to us for free. So we've yet to actually, put 7 rounds together. We had a pretty close go at it with, I think, Purdue, which was like a 8-7 and a 7-5 or something like that, and then one other one that wasn't particularly close. But yeah, we've been real close to getting a map in a best of 5. But I think now we've kind of gotten a little bit more consistency under our belt. We've gotten a little bit more comfortable with our map pool, which is really important in a format where you don't get to ban a map first, right? The other team gets a crack at any map they want before you even get a chance to ban it. So I think that's going to be something that is going to, help us in the long run. We've had to kind of work on it a little bit longer than we might want to, trying to get that map pool nice and rounded out. But I think it's something that's going to be pretty useful if we go into the grand finals against, Akron or GCU or UAH.
Well, sitting here, of course, in that 3 to 4 spot, that remains NCSU and Akron, but 1 and 2 that will also remain Converse and Purdue. Despite Converse losing to UAH this week, didn't feel there was enough justification to move them out of this top 4. And just 2 weeks ago, they proved that they were the best team in collegiate. So not a lot of reason to shuffle these top 2 around. We just used that win, or that loss rather, against UAH as justification to move UAH up 5 spots to the 5 spot. But something I just noticed, I took a look at the Kent State schedule once again, and I realized that not only, Staz, do you guys face GCU this week, but you face Akron. In the same week, you've got a pretty brutal schedule ahead. Obviously, we talked already about that GCU game. That one I think is going to be more of a toss-up than GCU think. But let's look towards Akron, right? This is a team that's been the top 4 consistently. That's been the best team in the collegiate for the large part of several years. Obviously not anymore, given the shakeup in their roster and given some of these new big boys on the scene. But what do you guys think about going into that one? Are you putting in a lot of prep work? How much of that prep work are you putting into that one? And what are your expectations going in?
Yeah, expectations, we just got to play our game and play the best that we can. We can't psych ourselves out just by, knowing that we're playing against a top team, because like that's what we wanted. We got into Premier to try to beat the best, and so we really just gotta perform and do the best that we can. We're prepping right now just by getting scrims throughout the week, doing a little bit of VOD reviewing, just trying to, mentally focus up the best we can and give ourselves the best advantage we can. Because at the end of the day, if we're not all playing at our best, Akron's going to beat us 10 out of 10 times. They're just one of those teams. I really think, though, that this week is going to be huge for us just to kind of see where we're going to balance out for the rest of stage 2 and probably stage 3. Just seeing how we can match up against a team like GCU and Akron, it's going to be good.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that one and giving that one a look on broadcast. Now, one more last thing to note as we pull up the rankings one more time. Last week, we had a team that blooped out of existence, St. Clair. This week, another team has fallen victim to the roster collapse issues that a lot of teams have been facing. Illinois State, gone from the mix, and they will not be returning for who knows how long, possibly ever. Apparently, their roster just a lot of things shuffle around, a lot of things not going well on that side. So we'll have to wait and see if they prove themselves and get back on this list, but I don't think it's going to be happening anytime soon. But with those two teams out of the way, or with that one recap out of the way, let's talk dirt. I mean, do we have any drama, anything to get into this week? I know Laggers and Taco, you guys always tend, to butt heads on something. Is there anything this week that you just got to get off your chest?
I don't have anything against Laggers this week. He's been, he's had a rough week, so I want to, give him a break. He looks real tired. I mean, you look really tired, so I thought maybe that you've been kind of going through it. But other than that, one thing I wanted to mention is the UAH versus MTU game was an absolute heartbreaker for me, and I'll tell you why. You see, I watched the UAH versus Converse game. Watched it back with some of my teammates because we wanted to see what happened. Right, UAH taking down the #1 team. That's got to be pretty impressive to watch. And let me start by saying this: at the end of the game, the UAH players are talking. They're like, you know what? On the dirt report, they're just going to say that we're only good in best of ones, and Converse had an off day, and we just got lucky. And let me tell you something. All right. First of all, don't assume what I'm going to say. Right. Because I can think my own thoughts. I don't need you to tell me what I'm going to say. Second of all, you are absolutely right. That was exactly what I was going to say, because I watched that game. I watched that best of one, and they were winning rounds where they started the round not knowing what game they were playing. They had no idea what ops they were going to bring. It was just an absolute, just a cluster. For lack of a better term, there probably is a better term, but I can't think of one right now. But and then they have to go and take down MTU. So it took all the things that I had in mind. I was like, oh, they're getting lucky. But then they proved that maybe they can do it on repeat occasions, and maybe that's because they had 2 games in 1 week, so their regimen of not scrimming didn't really affect them as much because they did get to practice by actually playing games. But maybe UAH, maybe I was wrong. Maybe they are a force to be reckoned with, and we will see about that when they take on GCU. But I just want to get that off my chest. I thought that was a real heartbreaker for me. So yeah, that's all I got to say.
Yeah, well, UAH doing the impossible, changing Taco's mind here potentially. So I have to keep an eye on that one as it develops.
wait till
Yeah,
tomorrow.
I'm fair, firm but fair. All right, that's all I got to say.
But can we
Wait
really
till
use
tomorrow, Taco. You'll be
GCU
back.
as a good, whether or not they're on the
Oh,
rise
here he
or not?
goes, Mr. Team Disbander. Here he goes.
Well, yeah, I can really talk. When you almost lose
let's
to
give scholarships to
UTSA.
guys that can't press a button to go to school, man.
That's fact.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
obviously, JM, yeah, go for
No, I was just laughing at Cow's comment.
it.
Be good. Be good.
Well, that's what happens when you're scrim partners, right?
Yeah, exactly.
One goes down, the other one goes down with them.
Take them all down.
Anyone else? The drama, the sauce, laggers, got anything to get off your chest? Or are we just vibing this week?
I think I'm just vibing this week. If Hayden doesn't have anything he wants to say to me, I'm in love with him, so it's okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
we're all good.
Awesome. Staz, you're obviously Premier. This is a big deal for you guys, really having the big chance to go against the big dogs. But you guys are coming from Open, and you guys have a perspective of an Open team that we don't get to hear very often on this broadcast, and I know we are looking to hear a lot more of. Do you have any drama coming from the Open slums that we should know about here? Or anything that we haven't been wary to? Something going down?
Nah, I don't really know. Open League for us was kind of weird just because, we played our matches and got out and they were all pretty quick. Not to be rude to anybody. But, I think the only Open teams that we really know too much about is Davenport. And, big ups to Davenport. They're doing a lot of work. They're scrimming a whole bunch. They're doing a lot of good stuff over in Open League. So, honestly, I really think that, give them some time and they might be able to be a top Open League contender and maybe actually have a good playoff run. They're not a bad team at all.
I can't sit by, Jonah, and let this happen. It happened weeks ago when Mr. Meaty was on this godforsaken broadcast. These KSU guys, they come on here and they are
KSU.
They are the picture of humility. They are so gracious. They're so nice. You know, they're very respectful, good opponents. And we went back and watched some VODs because we were going to play them. We want to know a little bit about this team. And it's a lie. It's so fake. All right. They get in there and they talk so much trash. I mean, it's hilarious. It's exactly what just about any comms sound like. But do not be fooled by the little nice boy with the bleached hair in the corner. Don't let him lie to you, okay? This guy is a demon, and he's going to beat you, and he's going to be very mean about it in his comms. I'm letting you know right now. I had to get off my chest. I can't let people, I can't let them go walk around blind thinking that, Kent State is just, the super nice group of people. And they're a bunch of jerks. That's what they are. Bunch of jerks.
We definitely
I want to see more Twitch edits.
Yeah, no, we definitely talk a lot of smack during our games. I'm probably one of the worst at that. I think it's definitely me and my roommate Sean. But at the end of the day, we always finish every game by saying GG's. We try to apologize if anything we said was a little bit too rude. I know that Virginia Tech in particular was a little rough one because we were having a little bit of a moment in chat, and they told us to shut up. And I think they were a little upset about the things we said. So
Virginia Tech always seems to have those moments. Yeah. We had that last year. Okay, there was a lot of Z's and a lot of dots dropped in games we had last year where we ended their playoff runs in all of the leagues. So they were a little upset with us.
But no, I mean, we always talk smack, Taco. I mean, we were talking smack against you and we were losing.
Yeah. Well, all I'm saying, you guys come on this dirt report and it's all, hey, they're a bunch of really good teams in open. You can be honest, they all suck. A majority of them suck. They're pretty bad. So you can be honest.
Wow.
That's all I had to say.
Woo.
Brutal.
There's only one open team I got beef with.
Name drop.
Oh.
Send it.
I don't know.
Send it.
Send it.
I got beef with Trine, man.
What's the beef with Trine?
He just talks a lot, man. He talks a lot in chat and everything. Always hurting my feelings.
Trine is in the entire
he
school
talked
or
bad
one
about our
specific
B
person?
team,
Oh, you don't talk bad about the B team.
Right? That's what I'm saying.
No, sorry. That's out of pocket. And we talk about, you gotta protect. You gotta protect.
Talk
your
about
B team.
NCSU's B team.
Say something, Klimpse. I swear to God. Dude,
it's not my fault you had to go ring for them, man. Yeah, you had to play at your apartment. It's obvious you guys were using a ring.
I'm glad you bring that up because we thought of everything. We got pictures of him here. He's up there on NC Jack's setup. Just the poor guy's playing on a fold-out table on Jack's setup. So believe me, it definitely was not ideal conditions.
You put him on the worst stuff, man.
Well, we had our own game going on at the same time. So we were playing against Akron while our B team was playing against Brown. So it was a good night here in the Wolfpack Nation, in the Research Triangle. Things are a good night.
Are you sure that you didn't have player swap teams?
Yeah. Our B team was the team that beat Akron, and we went and beat Brown.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean the B team, we're sleeping on them. You've told us. So yeah, I mean, great stuff, Staz. Looking forward to hearing more about the drama developing. Yeah, really, really good stuff tonight. As always, if you have any dirt in chat, feel free to drop that in there and throw in some extra spice. But once again, we have some predictions to go over. Do we have some predictions to go over? That's the real question I have. Are there any notable matches that we've got to look at this week? Okay, so we've got obviously CEA playoffs. That's where things are well underway. So we've got UAH versus GCU. This is a big one, and let's talk about it because this is a match against GCU, a team that is consistently fine, but also struggles a lot in moments that you don't expect them to struggle in, right? And UAH is a team that just proved themselves in the biggest way possible by beating, theoretically, the hardest team to beat. So let's predict this. Let's go around and let's talk about who do you think is going to win, and if you have an explanation, offer it quickly, Taco, quickly. We can move into the next matches and take a look at CEA Open. So, Laggers, I'll kick things off with you. Is it GCU or is it UAH? Who's going to the losers bracket final against Akron?
I'll go with UAH for this one. They had a super hot this week, and I think they can keep it going forward. GCU and UAH are both a little bit inconsistent, so kind of balances out there. But UAH, when they're shooting, they can be shooting, as we saw with Converse.
All right, Staz.
I think that a match to look at this week is going to be Texas Tech and Penn State in CR6 regular season. I think it's going to be a
Mhm.
good game. I really think that Penn State can pull it out. I really do. You know, they've been doing a lot of good stuff, and I really think if they keep it up, they'll do some good stuff.
All right, notable match to watch, but give me your prediction for GCU UAH as well.
GCU UAH probably GCU.
All right,
Most
got 1
likely.
and 1. JM.
Just because Ben's gonna throw him behind a wall or something.
Oh,
UAH
God.
because they also had 4
You can't
matches.
talk like that.
So you think GCU or you think UAH?
UAH.
UAH. Klimpse, you think
I
you can pull it out?
I think very well we are going to. I think it's gonna go 3 maps. We played them last year in CEA Open. To go and end up winning against Texas Tech. And I know it was a very long game against each other. It was a barn burner. It was like 7-5, 7-5, 8-6 or something like that. It ended up going a really long 3 maps. But I think UAH is a team that, as long as you figure out what they're doing, it's not difficult to continue to string rounds against them. It's just figuring out what they're doing because they are so interesting on how they play the game. They have a very different way they like to play the game. So if you figure it out, you'll be okay. I think we'll figure it out in more than enough times. They don't know what they're doing. We don't know what we're doing. So I think it's just kind of be a mess, and I think it's gonna end up coming down to who guns who, and I think we just went out and gun talent.
Right, Taco?
I think Clem's brought up a pretty good point. I think it depends on how far along GCU is on the coach chief kind of normalization routine. You know, I think UAH is a team that does really good against teams that are play pretty standard, and so if GCU is kind of, or if Chief's kind of gotten his hands pretty deep into GCU, talking about, you know, getting them to play like a much normaler team, then I think that's where UH is going to find a win. But if, you know, Clemson and GCU are still kind of playing their old style, I think that they can indeed pull it out.
Right.
As long as they
I'll
ban
throw
Clubhouse. I got to ban Clubhouse.
We
I
like
will throw my hat
Clubhouse.
into the
Let's go
ring
to
and I will.
Clubhouse, UAH.
That's a dangerous game.
Dumb choice.
I wouldn't do that. I will throw my prediction towards UAH. I think I love the underdog story, and I love to just see GCU lose. So, you know, both of those things would
But they're rated
really,
above us.
I guess that's true. You know what? Then UAH, though, you're gonna win anyway because I just like to see GCU lose. So I do think that takes priority. So I think that's a big one of the week. Obviously, we will be highlighting matches of the week, hopefully on broadcast. It'll be all over Twitter. So keep an eye out for that. Again, a couple more things to talk about. One, before we head out, we're gonna blast this FACEIT bracket link in chat. Get your prediction in for the preseason playoffs, which are now underway. Because if you win that bracket, if you win that number 1 spot, and as long as it's not one of us, you will be featured here on the Dirt Report. We want to hear your voice. We want to know how you predicted all of those matches right. That doesn't have to be a perfect bracket. You just have to win overall in the bracket predictions. So please fill that bad boy out. Make sure to link your account. That's very important because we want to actually know who did it. Include some sort of fancy, cool title that says, you know, like Klimpse bad or something, and then have, you know, obviously link that to your account so we know exactly who is winning that out. And finally, a new channel has been added in the CR6 Discord. If you take a look, I'm trying to pull it up here just so I've located it as well. In the community tab of the Discord, there is a channel called Match Streams. That is a new channel we've created specifically for all of your matches that we want to watch. And all of those matches that you paste in there are going directly to us at the Dirt Report. We have a constant running list of all of these streams. We're pulling them up every play day, and we've got watch parties going. We've got people in the community taking a look at these games and figuring out, you know, who are these teams to watch? Who are these teams to really make a name for themselves and make this top 25? So please use that stream Discord chat for all of your matches specifically, and any non-match stuff. Feel free to put that in the regular stream category because we want to see you play. We'll say this every week, and we're going to continue saying it every week. So, with that said, unless anyone else has anything to add, we are going to be done here for the night. It's been another great week at the Dirt Report, and we are super excited. I know I am personally, and I'm pretty sure I can speak for everyone here. We're stoked for the matches this week. We really want to see what you guys bring, and we want to see some upsets. We want to see some spice, and yes, maybe a little bit of that drama. So keep that coming. Keep that coming our way. Drop in our DMs if you have any questions, any feedback, or just want to talk about the drama and talk about the rankings. But Hope you guys have a fantastic week. Stay safe out there and have some
Oh,
fun. All right.
Jonah,
Yeah,
do you
Taco?
mind if I just get one thing in real quick?
Yeah, and then
any
why don't you send us out?
Yeah, sure. Any teams out there that are, looking to get some good practice in, please download the test server. We're looking to scrim with the new HUD, really get used to that because I think that's going to be integral into how the game is played next season in high caliber. So make sure you get that test server downloaded. You don't want to get caught lacking when that new HUD comes in because, man, it's going to change the game. Other than that, though, this has been all of us here at the Dirt Report, Laggers, JZ, Staz, JM, and Klimpse, and as well Tango Mango behind the scenes. We appreciate you tuning in. And as always, have a great evening.